What's up, guys? Southpaw Cooks here. I'm going to show you how I make my fall off the bone baby back ribs. These literally, if you try to pick them up, they'll probably fall apart. If you try to take a rib out, the bone is going to come out clean. That's how I prefer my ribs, just to be able to melt in your mouth kind of style. So here's my method on how to do that. Let's see if we can't, I don't know, pick it. Oh, geez. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's how I like my ribs to come off, is just clean. Oh. Step one, you're gonna preheat the 225 on your smoker. So get your baby back ribs, pat them dry. This is about a 3-pound rack, so this is good enough to feed probably, between 2 to 3 people. Barely 3, especially if they're good, then it's barely 3. I would say most likely 2 for this rack. The only reason I pat it dry is to make it easier to work with whenever you're trying to pull off that membrane, which I strongly recommend that you do. Some people think that you can leave it on, but to fully achieve that fall off the bone tenderness that comes with this method of cooking these ribs, you're going to want to just take that membrane off. All you're going to need is a butter knife. Just try to find an edge. Alright, so I got it started. Then I try to get it off in one shot, but sometimes it does not work like that. And you might need some paper towels to help you grab it at first, but this one I actually didn't right now. I'll probably need one here in a bit to get these little straggler pieces off. Maybe not. Yeah, I got those off pretty good. Alright, so now that your membrane's off, which is probably one of the most important pieces of this style of ribs, go ahead and dab it off again. Because we're going to put mustard as a binder. You can use sriracha, which I've also used. It does give it a little bit of spiciness to it. I just stick with mustard because it doesn't really add any flavor or take away anything either. I just let my spices do the talking on the flavor part. So you're going to want to put mustard on both sides, seasoning on both sides. What I'm going to use is this cowboy barbecue rub from Yellowstone. It's on the sweeter end for sure. I like my ribs, or any pork in general, to be more sweet than salty. So this is sweetness with a mix of like garlicky salty. So it's more on the sweet side though. Go ahead and kind of rub that in as you go to get it to stick to that binder. Some people massage it in and stuff. I mean, I'm not overly worried about the meat getting this flavor because it will. So all you have to do is give it a nice big coating on it. Then I'm also going to use this Jack Daniel's. It's chicken rub, but it works well on pretty much any meat. It adds like a little bit of a spicy pepper flavor to it. So I kind of like my sweet, a little bit of salty, and a little bit of peppery to it. Now on to the other side. And the cowboy barbecue. Really don't be shy on the seasonings. Ribs can take it. Then I got the jack chicken. Now this is the side you do kind of want to make sure that all the seasonings get kind of pushed in. Not that you'll flip it or anything on the smoker, but this is where it'll absorb the most flavor from, is this side. And make sure to kind of get your edges too, just to make sure it's still covered. All right, we're gonna go into the smoker, which is preheated for 225. We're gonna go for 3 hours or so, while spritzing every 30 minutes. And we're just gonna use some apple juice too. Don't be afraid to get that pretty wet in there. Don't say it. All right, before you take it off the grill, get your aluminum foil with butter pads and brown sugar set up for you. That way you can just plop the meat side down on it, then spray some more apple juice on it, wrap it up, and put it back on the smoker for 3 hours. So it usually ends up being about a half a stick of butter for me. Then I just go ahead and sprinkle some brown sugar. Like I said before, I like mine sweet, so I make sure that all the spices I put on it have a sweetness in nature. All right, go get it off the grill. We get a nice bark going. It'll be hot, so be careful. Meat side down on the pads of butter and brown sugar. Sprinkle a little bit more brown sugar on the bottom side too. And then spritz with your apple juice real quick again. Now wrap it up tightly. Doesn't hurt to put 2 layers of foil on it. Back onto the smoker for 3 hours at 225. All right, a few beers and 3 hours later, ready to take them off the smoker. It should rest probably about 45 minutes for this size of ribs. These are only about 3 pounds, but you know, give it 45 minutes to an hour or so for resting. It just kind of finishes the cook, lets it absorb all the moisture, become more tender. You know, the longer you wait, kind of the better it is. So I would say at least 30 minutes, 45 minutes. But let's get them off and let them rest. All right, resting for 45 minutes. Should be ready to go now. It's still pretty hot. Oh yeah. Pretty good. Still look pretty hot, but let's see if we can't, I don't know, pick it. Oh geez. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's how I like my ribs to come off, is just clean. Oh, that's delicious. Those seasonings are perfect. Has a sweetness, extreme sweetness, but some, I don't know, some spicy still. And salty. So this is kind of what it looks like on the underside. You'll see these rib bones poking out a bit. That's how you know they're pretty well cooked, is, you know, well, look at that. So I know this isn't competition style. Some people really like to have to bite them off the bone, where I really want mine to fall apart in my mouth. And you know, the only reason that you'd have to cut this rack of ribs is because you know, you can't hardly pull the rib off. Ah, absolutely delicious. Do this 3+3 method. So 3 hours unwrapped, just on a dry rub. Take the membrane off, mustard binder, you know, a sweet rub on it, whatever you want. Actually, I don't know your preferences of flavor, but I like a sweet rub. So first 3 hours unwrapped at 225 with mesquite pellets, and that gives it its nice smoky flavor, and it gives it a nice bark on it. And then wrap after 3 hours at 225 for another 3 hours at 225 in foil, butter, half a stick of butter, and some brown sugar. Or if you want more spice, you know, put whatever spices you want on it. I like my pork sweet, so I usually go with the brown sugar. So then let it rest. That's probably the most forgotten things to do. Let it rest for at least a half hour, 45 minutes. That makes it absorb all the juices, finishes the cooking. So it's a very important part that people miss. All right, I'm done talking. I'm ready to eat these. Ah.